Hello everyone, it's Imran here. Welcome back to another video. So, I'm going to react to another fan-made Thomas story from the ShunterProductions channel. This one is actually written by DCB12B, the one who's done some of his own. Obviously, I've reacted to some of DCB12B's videos. Is it DC? Oh no, it's DCG G12B. It is. I've reacted to some of his stories. I've listened to some of his narrations to some stories. He's a really good guy. Shunter Productions has adapted one of his stories, which is called The Banker. This one was uploaded nearly on September 28th. It was, so I think 5 months ago today. So, and this video apparently contains adult themes and coarse language. So, yeah, this one definitely looks like it's going to be a very interesting one. It is right here. So, yesterday, no, not the other day, I reacted to, from Shunter Productions channel, I reacted to Spirit of Survival. You want to see me rank that out? I'll have it up in the top right corner of your screen. That was actually quite a good mini story. Featured an unexpected character returning, it did. I really enjoyed that. I'm just trying to, Shunter Productions has uploaded quite a few videos on his channel that I haven't really been able, to react to until now. So I figured, you know what? Why not I just react to some of his videos? I really enjoy Shunter Productions was probably the second content creator I reacted to videos from on this channel. I did, and I really enjoy, how he tells his stories. How he adapts stories. He does because he does it in some sort of a different way. But this story particularly interests me because, like I said in the description, it says contains adult themes and coarse language. So this one definitely should be interesting. I really like Shunter Productions because of his Dark Thomas stories he adapts or does by himself and self. But it's a mixture between light fluffy stories and don't really dark horror stories. It is that's what makes Shunter Productions very unique. It does. But anyway, I'm just rambling. Really looking forward to this. I wonder who this banker is gonna be. Link to the video I'm reacting to in the description down below as always. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and get straight into this. The Banker.
One morning, Henry found himself stuck on Gordon's Hill. He had tried to tackle the notorious Grant alone, but
Wait, is it recording?
unfortunately hadn't succeeded. He began to hear his impatient passengers complaining. "Where's Edward?" he exclaimed. The guard walked up to the cab to speak to the driver and fireman. "I've called for a banker, but we will have to wait until Edward has finished helping a goods train coming the other way." At that moment, Douglas appeared over the top of the hill. He whistled to indicate to Edward that he could continue his journey alone. "Come on, Edward!" snorted Henry rudely. "We haven't got all day, you know." Edward didn't reply.
Guess he felt insulted but
When he
didn't
had
want to
finally
reply.
been turned around and changed lines, he found Henry, who had granted permission to reverse down to the bottom of the hill. Edward gently buffered up to the rear coach. "Ready, Henry?" called Edward. Come on, puffed Henry. Get pushing, get pushing!" As the train began to crawl up the hill, the two engines were working hard. Clouds of steam rocketed into the air as Edward was pushing with all of his might. They were nearly at the top of the hill when there was a loud bang. Steam shot from either side of Edward. Henry continued forwards, but the lack of support from behind soon took its toll. Henry slipped fiercely and ground to a halt. Suddenly the weight of his train began to pull him backwards, and he rolled back into Edward. Edward's driver applied the brakes fiercely as Henry and the entire train's weight was forced upon him. With his brakes screeching loudly, the train was brought to a safe stop, back at the bottom of the hill. "Are you all right, Edward?" shouted Henry. "No," muttered Edward in pain.
Not sound good at all.
Edward was quickly taken to the works. The Fat Controller came to see him. "What's the damage, Inspector?" he asked worriedly. "A burst cylinder, I'm afraid," replied the inspector. "I hate to say this, but Edward is very old. It would be in both yours and Edward's best interest if he were to retire from banking duties." The Fat Controller listened carefully. "Right."
It reminds me. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of that story, that other story that DCG12B did called The New Banker, where 16, you know, the engine from Wilbur the Forest Engine, was brought in as a new banker to replace Edward, and he didn't want to do his job properly, and then he got redeemed in the end. He did. But is this story similar to The New Banker DCG12B? If you're watching this, just please let me know in the comments down below. But clearly, the banker, this story is clearly different to The New Banker. It is.
Punchline work suits him well, but doing that and banking trains up Gordon's Hill means that he's being run into the ground. I'm
Oh,
surprised this hasn't happened sooner at the age he is. The Fat Controller considered the case. Well, Edward, I think it's time to hand over your banking duties to another engine. Yes, sir, agreed Edward sadly.
oh, Edward loves banking.
News soon spread around the
Hello there,
yards.
Stanley.
The Fat Controller's looking for a new banker, said James. Really won't choose me, grunted Gordon. The Fat Controller would never use an express engine in such a manner as banking.
Yeah, we know, Gordon.
Oh, come on now, Gordon, snorted Donald crossly. We all must help out. Aye, Edward's helped keep the trains running for years, and now we must do the same, added Douglas. All the engines found it difficult to keep up their own work as well as sharing the responsibility as banker. Because of this, strange things began to happen. Engines began experiencing the presence of another engine, one that wasn't there. Engines struggling with their trains would suddenly be bumped from behind and feel the strength of another engine pushing the train up the hill,
What?
only to discover the real banker coming the other way helping another train. They could all hear a steam engine hard at work, and a screaming whistle alerting them they had finished pushing and starting to ease off.
But there's no one there.
Crews began talking of a mysterious banker assisting trains at Gordon's Hill. The engines began to feel nervous. The story soon spread, and all the engines had made their own conclusions.
That's
Pip
not a
and
good
Emma were
idea.
most intrigued, but weren't convinced. There's a ghost engine, I'm sure of it, quivered Oliver. Nonsense, exclaimed Pip.
Where did
You're
Pip
all
and Emma
jumping
come
to
into the equation?
conclusions. It's not nonsense, grumbled Duck. It's very much real. Just because there's something happening that you can't explain doesn't mean it's a ghost, laughed Emma.
Oh,
It's alright for you two. You didn't need a banker, huffed Donald.
that is a bit true though. Though Pip and Emma are an Intercity 125. They don't need a banker. They're powered diesels who can power up the hill.
There has to be an explanation. All this never happened when Ed was banker, and now all of a sudden there's a ghost helping trains, said Pip. The engines thought for a moment. You're all overworked and your minds are playing tricks on you, soothed Emma. I'm telling you, I haven't lost my marbles yet. I know what I feel, barked Donald.
Oh,
And there's something on that hill. I know it. Pip and Emma dismissed the thought and departed the big station.
oh. Fat Controller was probably listening to them.
Later that day, the weather had changed for the worse. The rain pelted down.
Oh.
It made the mood on Gordon's Hill even more tense. Pip and Emma were returning back to the big station. They glided effortlessly through Marin Station. Keep your eyes peeled for the ghost, teased Emma. As they approached Gordon's Hill, they could hear a steam engine working hard on the other side. They then heard the familiar whistle of James. Some ghost that is, chuckled Pip. But suddenly, Emma heard another whistle. It screeched through the hillside and echoed all around
It's the ghost banker.
As James came to view, he looked very shaken up. He passed him with his goods train. Emma, who was leading, expected to see the banker slowing down at the top of the hill. But as they went over the other side, Emma could see nothing. Where's the other engine? She cried.
There's no other
Where's
engine.
what? Asked Pip. The banker. I heard the banker, and now it's gone. The driver was concerned. Maybe there's been an accident. We'll stop at Edward Station and raise the alarm. When they arrived, they told the station master. He was most confused. That's impossible, he explained. The engine on banking duty is bare, and he's currently running late. But I heard a steam engine, insisted Emma.
Yeah.
It must have been James. But there was a second whistle too, added Emma. Oh, please send someone up to check. The only engines available in the yard were Bill and Ben.
Bill and Ben?
All traffic was halted, and they set off with the works coach. They
Bill
inspected all around Gordon's Hill, but no engine could be found. They returned shortly. Emma was very confused, but Bill and Ben believed her. We've heard an engine banking trains too, explained Bill. You can hear it from the yards. It's got an awful shrill whistle that goes right through you, shivered Ben. Oh, Emma! You don't believe in all this ghost rubbish, do you? Grumbled Pip. Emma said nothing as she pulled the train away. Somehow it didn't add up.
Who is this
By
banker?
nightfall, it was time for the late night express. The mysterious occurrence had plagued her mind so much that she began to suffer engine trouble. A fitter came to see if he could repair her engine.
Ugh.
The fitter tried as hard as he could, but he couldn't get Emma's engine to run smoothly. Pip will just have to manage the train on her own, I'm afraid, said the fitter. You may need assistance up Gordon's Hill. Emma gulped. Pip was cross. I can manage, she snapped. I don't want Emma getting ideas in her head about a stupid ghost there. As the passengers began to board, a thick grey fog rolled in.
Uh-oh.
We won't be going very fast tonight, girls, said the driver. Wouldn't be safe in such poor visibility. At last, it was time to depart. Emma said nothing as Pip pulled the train away. All went well until they neared Gordon's Hill.
Weird.
The fog was even thicker. Pip couldn't see a thing, nor could Emma. As they rolled through Edward Station, Pip's driver opened the accelerator and she began to attack the climb. Emma trailed behind. She gasped in shock as an unfamiliar shape of a steam engine stood in the siding and watched them go by.
Who is that?
Faster, Pip! Faster! Cried Emma. Pip was working hard. The noise of her engine drowned out the calls from her sister far behind. Emma suddenly felt a sick feeling as she could hear the sound of a steam engine getting closer and closer. Quick, Pip! Please go faster, please! Begged Emma. The sound grew louder and louder. The tracks began to hum with the approach of another engine. Suddenly, out of the fog, screaming fit to burst, was a steam engine. It charged at Emma with great speed. Emma's engine suddenly roared into life, and she forcibly pushed the Pip and the train up the hill. They shot over the other side and raced to the next station. Once there, the driver checked Emma over. Are you all right, Emma? Asked Pip. She was worried for her sister. It was the ghost. I saw it. It came at me. It was going to hit us, she cried. Emma, you're scaring me now, but it's true! Pip, unsure what to make of the matter, pulled away cautiously.
Who would have thought that Pip and Emma would have seen the
news reached the Fat
encounter?
Controller. He took Pip and Emma out of service for a couple of days. When Edward's repairs had been completed, the Fat Controller gathered all his engines at the sheds. Pip and Emma were shunted alongside. It has come to my attention that strange occurrences have been happening at Gordon's Hill, he began. I am sure you all have experienced them one way or another, and of course, have heard of the recent sightings of an engine by Pip and Emma. Is it a ghost, sir? Asked Henry. The Fat Controller paused briefly. A lost spirit, shall we say. His name was Conrad. He was a very old engine when I took charge of the railway. An enthusiastic, hard-working and very useful engine. He felt his responsibility deeply as a banker on what is more now commonly known as Gordon's Hill.
Okay.
A kind-hearted engine that assisted even his worst enemy. But I'm afraid his eagerness to please got the better of him. One foggy night, our passenger train slipped to a halt on the gradient. Conrad rushed to the scene. The passenger train began to roll back down the hill. I'm sorry to say, Conrad never saw it coming. The engines were horrified. "You mean he crashed to the back of it, sir?" asked Emma quietly. The Fat Controller nodded. Everyone in the rear coach lost their lives. Conrad was beyond repair. Soon after the accident, rumours of an engine assisting trains began to strike fear into the crews. I believe it was just Conrad and his willingness to help others in need. The crews went on strike and refused to drive trains beyond Wellsworth and Mountain Station. I therefore decided that Edward would become the banker of the hill. His strong work ethic and reliability meant that he could help every train and convince the crews that there was no ghost. Indeed, it must have worked. For the many years Edward has been a banker, there's been no sightings of Conrad. Until now. The engines looked at the Fat Controller solemnly. "You can never hide from the past," the Fat Controller said gravely. The engines were lost in their thoughts. Edward no longer banks trains up Gordon's Hill. Instead, he is busy on his branch line. The Fat Controller hired another engine from a heritage railway to help with the trains and become the new banker.
16!
Because of this, there are no more sightings of Conrad anymore. The engines sometimes hope to see him. So
that's how 16 became the banker. Became the banker in the new banker it did. Because of this feels like a prequel to the new banker story it is. 16 was brought on as the new banker because of what happened.
For now they understand. They don't feel frightened of him anymore. Pip, but mostly Emma, felt the saddest. They know he means no harm and that he isn't scary at all, but just an engine who's still willing to be useful, even after death. Pip, Emma and the other engines agree that should he return, they'll never live in fear of him again.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the video because it was not fucking made for kids.
Thank you, Sir Topham Hat. Oh my god, so 16 wasn't the ghost banker, it was an engine called Conrad. So basically what happened was that the train that engine was pulling, Conrad crashed into the back of it, and everyone in the rear coach ended up losing their lives. That is actually sad. That's quite a sad story behind it. It is right there. And that obviously caused a strike, refusing to pull trains beyond Wellsworth, and he asked Edward to be a banker. He did so it would quash the fears, and it seemed to have worked. And as a result, because of that it worked until, like I said, until now when the sightings were reported. Conrad means no harm. He just wants to be useful, but because of his ghostliness, the engines feared him as a result. Poor Conrad, that's all I can say, but this definitely felt like a story, a prequel to DCG12B's other story, The New Banker, in which obviously we introduced 16, that introduced 16, it did. So this story, obviously prequel to The New Banker it is, because this was the horrific reason why Edward was retired from banking duties, and it tells us the story about how 16 became the new banker, and like in the other story, the new banker, the DC G12B did. But wow, I knew the story was going to be quite a spooky one, but that actually was not spooky. It was actually quite sad. It was. Just imagine everyone in that rear coach losing their lives. Sometimes in the Thomas world, you're lucky, but at other times you're just not lucky, and that was one of the times where they simply weren't lucky. They were. Yeah, definitely nothing else to say about that. If you do want to check out my previous Thomas reactions, though, whenever it's a trains adaptation or an audio story, I will have a playlist up in the top right corner of your screen right now. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that like button for me. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought this story I reacted to. Also, let me know in the comments down below what other videos you want me to react to next. Follow me on Instagram, follow me on TikTok. Links to both of them will be in the description down below. Share this video, subscribe if you're new here, ring that bell to get notified when I upload new videos, or live post in the community tab, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye!